name's Jonathan Fischer. I play oboe in the Houston Symphony, and I'm very excited to talk to y'all about your TMEA All-State excerpt, page 9 in the Rubank book, which is also known as Ferling number 12. It's the D minor fast Allegro Furioso etude. And I'm very happy to talk about this because I love this etude. The atmosphere of it is super dramatic, it's just furious, and it's hard, but it's fun to play because of all this sort of drama. It covers the whole range of the oboe, and there's just a lot happening. So it's fun to play, and it's a great etude, I think. The most important thing I could tell you in terms of practicing advice is really to take this in manageable, bite-sized pieces. Don't try to just play it top to bottom all at once until you're really finished with the practicing process. So I would say really one measure, even two measures at a time would be good. I would go in just really small chunks. I think that the really hard measure is 3 before the end, so I'm just gonna show you how I practice it. I put my metronome on very slow. The reason we go so slow, this is very important, is that practicing technical things is really a lot about repetition. And if you play it a little bit faster than you can play it perfectly, then you're just perfecting your mistakes and you're just ingraining them, and it's much harder to undo that than it is to just do the hard work. It's a little tedious to start that slow, I know, but if you just do it, learn it right the first time, you don't have to unlearn any little sloppy mistakes that you make. It's much better to just go, you want to go so slowly that you can play it perfectly. I don't care how slow that is, doesn't matter. So slow you can play it perfectly, then you go one notch faster, you play it perfectly again, and you just build on that, and you're ingraining the perfection. Once it's fast, you get a little sloppy, and you keep going, you keep repeating the sloppy over and over, you're perfecting the sloppy. We don't want that. So this is just how I would practice it. I've got my metronome on 50 here. Then I go to 51. And so on and so on. I go only one at a time, notch by, like number by number by number up. Don't cheat. And if you feel like you get to a notch where it was like not great, go back 5 notches. Now in just practicing this, I'm discovering that what's hard about it is that top bit, right? That's hard. I also mark in, I'm going to use forked F around the G sharps and Ds, and I'm going to use left F at the beginning of the bar. So I write all that in, that's set in stone. Now I'm going to do it the same way every single time. For that really hard thing at the top, I'm just going to invent an exercise. Then I would move that up a notch, move that up a notch, get that really good, then do the whole measure. Then you do the next measure, and you just take it bite-sized chunks like that. I know it seems very slow and tedious. It doesn't take that long because you're going with such small sections. You can, it'll take you, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes or something to do 2 measures, and then those are done. And then the other thing I would say is if you do, let's say you do measure 1 and measure 2, and you put that through the little woodshed system, then you do measure 3 and measure 4, then you need to go back and do measures 2 and 3 together, so you don't have any gaps. A couple musical things I would say about this is, let's talk about breathing. It's not a big problem in this because it goes by pretty fast. I would breathe, obviously on the quarter rest halfway through in measure 12, at the end of measure 12. I would say an optional breath after the tied quarter note in measure 15, but that's more just an embouchure reset or a comfort thing. I don't know that you really need a breath because it's only 2 measures in, but that's just an optional breath that you can take if you want. And then I think you can make it all the way to the low D in measure 24. But it's important if you breathe, I think you should breathe after the low D in measure 24. Make the downbeat of 25 match, even if you don't breathe. What you want to avoid is this. So you don't want to have the gap and then sustain. So you want to just kind of, even if you don't need the breath in 25, style it the same way. Like that. So you've got, so that they match. It's just more symmetrical that way. What else? I think, because it's so furioso all the time, I think if you can find 1 or 2 moments of quiet in the storm, that can be nice. There's not a piano in the whole thing. It just says forte, mezzo forte, that's it. That's all we've got. Fortissimo. There you go. So nothing quiet. But you have the artistic license to find a couple of quiet things. I don't know if you noticed where I sort of got a little quiet in after the second half, measure 13. I think there you can lighten up a little bit. It's in a major key. Sort of the sunshine comes out. That can be a little more cheerful, less aggressive. Also measure 19, if you start that chromatic down passage a little softer, you can crescendo kind of down to the bottom. Same idea in measure 23. Start soft and crescendo all the way down to the fortissimo low D. And that'll just provide some interest. You just don't want it to be, if you just play it loud the whole time, it can be impressive if it's clean, but it can also be a little relentless artistically. So if you can find some little happier moments through it, it'll just add more variety. The Ferling book says, in my memory, I think it's a quarter note equals 130 or 132, something around there. That's too fast. I think it's better if it's a little slower, and the excitement is in the precision, not the speed. So go a little slower so it's really clean. I think anything from 110 to 120, even 100 if it's really clean, is going to be more exciting than 120 sloppy. So I would aim for 110 to 120 in that range, but that's not in stone. Just whatever tempo you can play it at really cleanly, that's the key. So take it slow, and I think like a half an hour a day or an hour a day is much better than 5 hours on a Saturday. Daily contact with the instrument's really important. Just go little by little and you'll get there, and have a really good time, and good luck. Thanks.